Greetings, Star Warrior.
Welcome to the Outer Rim. Today I'm going to be talking about a very, very interesting topic. I'm currently looking at an article entitled Solo Posters Ripped Off? Question mark. So, I don't know if any of you have heard about this yet. I suspect some of you have. I first was alerted to this by watching the channel SC Reviews. He did a great video on this, and since then I've seen a few other YouTube channels talking about this. And I was approached by one of my Twitter followers who seemed to want me to talk about it as well. So here I am to give a certain perspective. Now, because there's a possibility of controversy on this topic, I went to other people that I know personally to get their perspective on whether or not they believe that this was a ripoff. And as far as I can tell, we're batting 1,000 for ripped off. So before I post the images, I'm just going to read a little bit from the article, stop and give some commentary, read a little bit more, then maybe post the images at an appropriate time. Previously, I wrote about the highly unlikely scenario that Rian Johnson or other writers plagiarized the screenplay for The Last Jedi from a fan fiction. Now comes something that may not be so far-fetched. Now, I haven't posted the images yet, but I'm just wondering what would make someone believe that Rian Johnson did not plagiarize a fan fiction when they have seen evidence that Lucasfilm is already in the mode of plagiarizing other content. So far, we know that the plot from the sequel films have not been original. They've been almost wholly copied from the original trilogy. And evidence pointing to the probability that Rian Johnson copied the plot from for The Last Jedi from a fan fiction is just as compelling as the evidence that Solo copied posters from an artist who has nothing to do with Disney, Star Wars, or Lucasfilm. Joseph Schmidt of comicbook.com is now reporting that the motif in the posters for Solo may be ripped off. Here's a quote, I guess. But it looks like Disney and Lucasfilm posters for Solo, a Star Wars story, might be borrowing from an artist who made similar album covers for Sony Music France in 2015. Hakim Bahous voiced his displeasure on Facebook alongside a comparison of his commissioned album covers for albums including The Legacy of Funk, The Legacy of Jazz, and other collections with the character posters for the Han Solo spin-off movie. The similarities are difficult to ignore. The artist provided a side-by-side comparison on his Facebook page. As I display the images up there, I'll just, kind of talk about my own experiences with art and why I have the perspective on this that I do. As someone who has taken an interest in all different types of art for the past, several decades, I can tell you that art doesn't come naturally for me at all. I have my challenges whenever I'm doing anything artistic. For instance, I'm not very color coordinated. Artistically, that has been quite a big problem for me. Understanding how color works, what you can do with them, goes a long way in how you're able to affect people with your art. And if you don't understand that, it can really cause a problem. Even if you're great at doing pencils and drawing and everything, color can make a huge difference whenever you're trying to affect an audience in certain ways. So it's pretty clear that the artist who did the album art had a pretty good understanding of color. And he's not displaying anything really special in that department in these images, but he is better than me at it. So at least to me, that's something. So just coming up with the colors alone and how to use them would take me probably quite a bit longer than even the average person. And I have to imagine that the person who was doing the Solo posters was probably thinking much the same thing that I was. The format is almost identical. If you look at the top of each picture, let's take the album art first. You have The Legacy of in small font but bold black letters. And if you look over on the Solo side, you have the word Solo in small font but bold black letters at the top of the image. Now that is clearly less noticeable than what's going on in the rest of the images, but no less important. It's the small details you pay attention to that really tell the story here, not just the big ones. Someone's lawyer might be inclined to say that the big ones are coincidental, but, the small ones are less so, I would say. It's not out of the ordinary for the main logo to be at the top of an image, although they very well could have put it in the middle, but it's at the top. That's not out of the ordinary. But for it to be that size and that color, that is suspect, so to speak. And I'm pretty sure we don't really have to discuss the centerpieces. I mean, you can see the evidence for yourselves. There's a little bit of difference on the Chewy image, a little color difference. His is a little bit yellowish font, whereas the album art is a little brown. But literally, the colors in the rest of those images are identical. Shamelessly so. Scandalously so. Just like the passages from Street Solos fanfic that we talked about a couple months ago. Throwing in the Millennium Falcon and a couple of TIE fighters at the bottom of the image does not change any of that. But here's an update to the article. Interesting. While writing this story, the original post on Facebook by Hakeem Bahous has either been deleted or moved to a private setting, as it's no longer publicly available. The post compared 4 different solo posters and 4 different CD covers to show the similarities. This story has been receiving a lot of attention since the original post went up, and it's possible that Hakeem Bahous has decided that he just didn't like the attention, though one would assume attention was the point when it was first posted. It's possible that Disney and/or Sony has been in touch with him over the last day or so, and the situation has been explained and/or dealt with. If there was some sort of settlement reached, removing the original post may have been a condition of it. I did see in another article where Lucasfilm was suggesting that they outsourced the art for the solo posters, and it was not done by a Lucasfilm employee. It will be interesting to see in the future if that is true or not. But tell me what you think in the comment section below. Like, subscribe, share this across the galaxy, and as always, if you're listening, you are the new rebellion. You are the new rebellion.